Let's take a moment to talk about stress and the role that it plays in your life. Because stress is kind of this thing that's on a bit of a continuum and it needs to be in balance. It kind of makes me think about the chain on a bike. So you need to have a connection to the resistance to move the bike forward, right? Okay, if the chain comes completely off the bike and there's no resistance whatsoever, you've got no stress in your life, then you're not really going to move forward, and you're also going to be really bored because you're just sitting there on a bike that does nothing, aka you're not really doing much with your life. On the other end of the spectrum, it makes me think about if you're riding up a super duper steep hill and you have the gears set to the heaviest possible gears and you can barely push the bike forward, well, that's going to be a bit too much stress. So what you need to think about is finding that balance, and finding that balance is something that's going to be very personal and will depend on you. So for instance, somebody might feel like they're in the perfect amount of balance as an attorney working 80 hours a week because they love what they do and they're in flow and that just works for them. And that's great. Other people might find that working 3 days a week in a much less stressful job, maybe, I can't think of anything, but we all have different tolerances for stress. And that doesn't make anyone any better or worse. Don't beat yourself up if your tolerance for stress is lesser than someone else in your life. What you do need to do though is you need to identify and know that within yourself. So you need to know what your stress tolerance is and you need to work towards that. Because what you'll find is that if you are under too much stress, more than you can handle, you'll experience burnout, you'll get sick, you won't sleep properly, the wheels will fall off. And conversely, if you have zero stress in your life to the point that you don't have any goals or any purpose, you're going to feel bored, you're going to feel probably depressed. So it's really important to find that balance, and how you do that is entirely up to you. It involves a lot of soul searching. It involves a lot of getting quiet and asking yourself what you really want from life. Because the thing is, when you're doing the things that you love and that you feel passionate about and that light you up, you aren't going to feel the same sort of stress that you feel when you have to grind to get something done. So for instance, the example of the solicitor that I talked about, or the attorney I talked about before, if that's your passion and that's what you absolutely love, you might not find that as stressful as someone who is just doing it because they feel like they should, or they think they need to do that to make money. So when you are doing the activities that are aligned with your purpose and aligned with your heart, yeah, you'll feel a certain element of stress, but it'll be that perfect balance. That bike chain will be right where it needs to be, where you'll feel a bit of resistance, but you'll be moving forward. And that's kind of an ongoing process of understanding where you need to be achieving that. So I guess what I wanted to say today was have a think about where your stress levels are at the moment. Are you pushing too hard? Is everything like a constant grind? Or do you feel like the chain's fallen off and you need some more direction? And take a moment. I'd recommend journaling or meditating on the questions and just think about what lights you up, what gives you joy, and what are those activities you do where you feel like you're in flow, where you're not thinking, looking at the clock, you're not thinking, oh, this is so hard. What are the things you love doing where you lose track of time? And think about how you can incorporate more of that into your life. Because the thing is, no one's going to change your life for you, and no one's going to show up one day and make things easier for you. If your life is not the way you want it to be, then you need to take action to make it that way. You need to take control of your life and change things so that you can get that stress continuum to where you want it to be. Because some people can't do the same work that other people can do, and there's nothing wrong with that. You just need to know that and be brave enough to make changes in your life to get yourself back on track and moving forward towards your goals in a way that makes you happy. But be brave enough to acknowledge that and identify that within yourself.